So, last night at the Coliseum, USC beat Michigan State 45 to 31. They're up 24 to 10 at the half. Scored the first possession of the second half to go up 31 to 10. And Michigan State scored two unanswered touchdowns to cut it to 31 to 24. USC came back with two unanswered touchdowns of their own to make it 45 to 24. And the final, as I said, was 45 to 31. Jaden Mayava threw three touchdowns and ran for two more. Wayman Jordan had 18 carries for 157 yards. Eli Sanders had 13 carries for 84 yards. Makai Lemon had eight catches for 127 yards. He had one receiving touchdown and also one touchdown on the ground. USC was without Jacoby Lane, whose status Lincoln Riley said after the game is inconclusive and uncertain going forward. So no guarantee that Lincoln said that he'll play next week at Illinois or even in the coming weeks. And the Illinois game is a big one. It's going to be the big noon kickoff next week on Fox. It's going to start at 9 a.m. Pacific time out there is that Champaign, Illinois, or Illinois play? I think it is. So, yeah, man, USC, they just continue to play well and look like a well-oiled unit out there, a complete unit in every phase of the game. Jaden Mayala now has thrown. Sorry, he has 13 total touchdowns that he's accounting for throwing and running, and no turnovers, I believe, through four games. Certainly no interceptions. And I would say at this point, there's no. I don't. I mean, I think it's probably a little. It's a little too early so far. I would say still just a bit too early to make a real like Heisman ranking. But I would say after next week, that's when people will start having those type of conversations. And if they go to Illinois and beat Illinois, who got the doors blown off of them last night or yesterday at Indiana, so they look a little less. It looks a little bit less daunting now after the way that Illinois just lost. But so if they go in there next week at Illinois lost 63 to 10 at Indiana. Illinois came in this weekend ranked ninth in the country, and they got blown out by number 19 Indiana. So if USC is able to go in there next week, as I said, go into Champaign and take care of business, they go to 5-0. And if Mayava plays well again, as he's played well in every game so far, you're going to start hearing his name in those conversations. I think that'll start next week, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, man, UFC, like I said, bro, and I was worried because, when the season started, I looked at the schedule, and I said, this is not the most. I felt like last year was was a more difficult schedule. You look at it this year, and it's really not that. I mean, on paper at least, it's really not that intimidating of a schedule. And I looked at it and said, well, they should be able to get to at least 8 wins, right? They started with a couple, easy games just to get their feet wet and get themselves going against Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Last week on the road at Purdue, took care of business. This last night against Michigan State at the Coliseum, took care of business. Then it'll be Illinois. Then it'll be Michigan, but Michigan is not. Michigan not what they were under Harbaugh. We almost had them. Almost got them last year at Michigan. This one will be at the Coliseum. Notre Dame just got their first win of the season, so they're 1-2. But that'll be at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is still a dangerous team. They played for the national championship last year. Then it'll be at Nebraska, in North. Then it's Northwestern. Then it's Iowa. That's at the Coliseum. The Northwestern game and the Iowa game are at the Coliseum. And then it's Oregon. That's at Oregon. Okay, that'll be a tough one. And then it's UCLA to close the season. UCLA, one of the worst teams in college football, and that's at the Coliseum. So I mean, and it's actually what's crazy that the schedule's looking easier, actually, probably as the season goes on because now Illinois got blown out. Michigan's not that, intimidating, and that's going to be a home game. Notre Dame is 1-2. So I mean, God, you look at the schedule, bro. That's why it sucks that you know that Jacoby Lane, if he misses, it's like just when everything is starting to go right, something goes wrong. Jacoby Lane gets hurt. Illinois is gonna be pissed off next week and gonna be looking to get back on track, and they're gonna be at home. So if Jacoby Lane is not out there, uh, it, it it's going to be more difficult just on the basis of the fact that they're going, on the road against a team that's going to be ticked off and looking to get back on track. So uh, it sucks when it seems like that happens all the time. Though. Just when the path seems to be opening up and things are looking really good, something bad will happen. But they didn't really. I mean, they didn't miss Jacoby Lane today. They run the ball so well. Like I said, I've said a few times. Uh, They don't have the same depth at receiver that they would have had if not for the losses they took to the transfer portal. And Deuce Robinson and Kyron Hudson and Zach Branch were all topped either first or second on their new teams in receiving. Uh, so if we still had those guys, man, you'd be looking at that. Shoot, you'd be looking at this. You'd be like, damn, can USC run the table through the Iowa game? That's how you be feeling about it. But as it stands, uh, you still have to feel pretty confident. But you see, one thing you notice is that these lines, I think USC was a 20.5 point favorite last week at Purdue and a 17.5 point favorite this week. Next week, the line they're only a 4.5 point favorite. So that should tell you something like that. But I do think the lines and how sizable they are with USC being favorites the last 2 weeks, it tells you something about the bettors feel like, this is a good USC team. Um, so uh, we'll see what happens, and Makai, I'm just talking about Makai Lemon. Trying to think about who he reminds me of. He's going to be a first round pick, no question, in the draft coming up. I think he reminds me of Amon-Ra St. Brown. There was a play where USC sent him in motion and got the ball to him on the move coming out of the backfield. And I think that's the type of stuff that the Lions do with St. Brown. Of course, St. Brown went to USC as well and is one of the best players in the NFL right now. And I think they're similar size. Brown is Makai's listed as 5'11", 195. St. Brown at 6', 202 pounds. But though Makai looks bigger on the field, honestly, like a little thicker. So he's just a hell of a player, and I can't wait to see how he fares in the league. And so before I move on, I want to say something about the a bit of a delay there at the end of the second quarter because of the injury to Wayne Matthews III. He suffered an injury. Stop for more. I'm reading here from the ESPN. I watched it live, but I'm reading here from the ESPN report from the AP. It says the game was stopped for more than 10 minutes, felt like longer, while Michigan State linebacker Wayne Matthews left the field, was stabilized and transported on a cart after he got hurt while tackling Wayman Jordan 42 seconds before halftime. Matthews gave a thumbs up to his teammates before being driven away. Um, yeah, so I kept waiting as I was watching to see him give the thumbs up, and I never saw it. And it was like a really somber tone in the Coliseum, and in the booth, RG3 was the color man. So it was good to see that he gave the thumbs up. Hopefully he's fine. This game of football, man, is every time you go out there on the field, you're taking that risk, and that's the reason that I never, I never was, I never really. Everybody wanted me to play football, and I just, I went out. Well, the reason I ended up not playing is because, when I went out there freshman year of high school, football is a grind. You have to really be passionate about football to want to play it. And I get out there, man, and it's hot, and the coaches are screaming at me and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, I'm just not built for this. I'm more of a, I'm a thinker, a scholar, an intellectual. you know, like we just even if like just getting up and like we had to walk to practice. I went to Daniel Murphy High School, and we would practice down the street from the school at Pan Pacific Park. Uh, Pan Pacific Park is like like the Grove is right across the street, literally. So we used to practice there, and I remember, man, even the part of having to carry your pads to practice just for that. It's not even that long of a walk. It's like I was. I mean, and then if I could go back, bro, I guess I just really was a big wimp back then, a big wimp, because I just wasn't. But like I said, bro, it's hot and you're out there, especially when the season starts, because it's September, it's hot, and it's just a grind that I wasn't built for. And then the other thing about it was that I didn't. I was always afraid that something bad was going to happen. You know, and I think that you know situations like last night, and it's amazing that more bad stuff doesn't happen the way these guys are out there, colliding into each other. Um, they're very lucky, but I guess you train yourself for that sport so that you can take your body can take those blows, you know. So, uh, yeah, shout out to um, Wade Matthews, man. Again, yeah, I hope he makes a speedy recovery.